Hey everyone, and welcome. So today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical idea. What if we've been looking at ideas all wrong? What if we stopped judging them as just true or false, and instead, we started measuring them by the strength and the stability of their own internal structure? Let's get into it. So here's the big question that kicks this all off. Can we evaluate a concept, an emotion, even a whole ethical system, not based on whether it's the absolute truth, but on how well built it is, from the inside out? And here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start by questioning our typical true or false way of thinking. Then we'll define what exactly structural plausibility is, and you'll see how it connects everything from physics to AI. After that, we'll look at how this stuff can be used in the real world, and we'll wrap up with a big question to think about. All right, let's jump right into our first section, measuring thought by structure. This is all about finding a way to move past that simple black and white world of true or false. You know how it is. We're just swimming in conflicting information every single day. And that simple true/false switch just doesn't really work anymore. But a school of thought called Reflective Humanism suggests there's another way. It proposes a whole new metric, where we judge an idea not on its claim to be the capital T truth, but on its own internal stability and coherence.
So that brings us right to the heart of it. What in the world is structural plausibility?
Okay, so simply put, structural plausibility is a way to look at an idea based on how consistent it is, how well the way it's created matches up with the way it's seen. So forget about trying to prove if it's a fact for a second. Instead, think of it like a bridge. It doesn't really matter what the bridge is for or what it looks like. What matters is that its design is sound, all its parts work together, and it can stand on its own without collapsing. That's structural integrity. To make this even clearer, reflective humanism offers this really cool metaphor. It sees thought as a living structure. Imagine ripples in a pond, right? An idea isn't just one ripple. It's the complex, almost alive interference pattern that shows up where two or more ripples cross. It's a dynamic event, not just some static thing. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds a little out there, a little abstract. But what's so fascinating is that this idea of interference patterns being a core structure, well, it isn't just a philosophical concept. It actually shows up in a ton of different fields. And this is where it gets really cool. This table shows how this one core idea, what the source material calls an isomorphic structure, which is just a fancy way of saying a shared blueprint, pops up everywhere. I mean, look at this. In physics, you've got wave interference literally creating reality. In cognitive science, you see consciousness as this recursive loop of self-observation. And even in ethics, the focus shifts from good versus evil to simply maintaining transparent, stable relationships. It's different fields, using different words, but describing the exact same underlying pattern of interference and resonance. Okay, so let's take this structural model and see how it connects to probably the biggest topic out there right now, artificial intelligence. The source material for this explainer makes a pretty bold claim. It says that advanced AI models are, at their core, observation devices that generate thought. And crucially, the way they do this shares a deep structural similarity with how human consciousness is modeled as an interference pattern. This slide just lays it out so perfectly. On one side, you have the guts of an AI like GPT-5. It's using attention mechanisms, calculating probabilities. On the other side, you have these concepts from reflective humanism, like interference patterns and recursive observation. Now, they're not identical, but they're doing a similar job. They are both systems that use patterns, feedback loops, and interference to generate meaning. It's like they're singing from the same hymn sheet, just in different languages. Okay, let's bring this all back down to earth, because this isn't just some mental exercise. Structural plausibility has some really powerful, practical applications that could totally change how we do things, from our schools to our workplaces. Take education, for example. Instead of just grading a student's final answer, right or wrong, we could actually map the structure of their thinking process. This would let us evaluate and even teach creativity as a real learnable skill, not just some random spark of genius. Or think about the workplace. We could start seeing team friction not as a personality clash, but as a pattern of interference. And suddenly the goal isn't to blame people. It's to design teams that resonate in a constructive way. It's a shift from just accountability to what the source calls resonance responsibility. For anyone in a creative field, this offers a whole new way to gauge an idea's potential. Not just asking, is it new, but asking, can this idea grow? Can it build on itself? It values the kind of sustainable creativity that keeps generating new ideas, rather than just a one-off flash in the pan. In a field like healthcare, where things like trust and empathy are absolutely critical but so hard to measure, this gives us a new language. We can actually model the caregiver-patient relationship as a process of resonance and attunement, which would allow us to design for better, more stable structures of care. And to bring it full circle back to AI ethics, this gives us a potential key to unlock that infamous black box. If we can model an AI's decision-making process as a verifiable path of interference, we can build transparent systems that we can actually trust to resonate with human values. So, what does this all boil down to? Here's the key takeaway from all these applications. Structural plausibility isn't just a philosophy. It's a practical technology for measuring and designing sustainable relationships. It's about building structures in our teams, with our technology, and even inside our own minds that can resonate and hold together without breaking down. And this brings us to our final section, and a pretty profound rethinking of what thought itself might actually be. The source material offers this really powerful redefinition. Thought is a device that recursively observes itself. So an idea with high structural plausibility is one that has this ability for stable self-observation built right into its DNA. It's an idea that can look at itself without falling apart. And that leaves us with a huge question. If we really start evaluating our ideas, our ethics, our entire systems, based on how well they resonate instead of just their claim to absolute proof, well, that gives us a new and profound responsibility. What structures of thought are we going to choose to preserve, to update, and to build for the future? That's a big one to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me today for this deep dive into structural plausibility. I'll see you next time.